Okay, so after introduction of the book, World War II Wargaming Solitaire Toolkit on Amazon now, link below. Um, so let's run through the usage of it. Last video I gave a quick introduction. So let's step back through it, how it works. So the first battle, again, I randomly rolled. So the first thing you set up is your theater in here. So it's under, the setups. There's random theater, European theater. I went for the Russian theater, and I did a roll, and we ended up with number 2, Soviet Union, 1941, border at Grodno. So this is the initial day of Operation Barbarossa. So German panzer divisions break across the Niemen, while Soviet tank brigades counterattack desperately near Grodno. So we're going to have a place near Grodno, attackers German, defenders Soviets. So now we know where it is. The next thing I need to look up is what size are we getting for an engagement. And it's always company level. You can roll twice and make bigger ones or what have you not. Or roll for company level if you've only got a couple of platoons. Fill it in. But I ended up rolling, let's see. So I rolled up here a rifle company plus assault gun platoon, which is the attackers, so that's the Germans, versus a rifle company plus light tank platoon, so heavy gun versus mobility. So that's what we had for the forces, attack and defense. So we got a couple of companies with some tanks attached in a meeting engagement. Well, really, I put it down as a recon force for the Germans. Because so then the next thing I did was when I looked actually at the map of what's around Grodno to find out where this could have taken place. Again, it's not pure history, it's based in history, so it's a speculative attack. What could have happened in this area at that time of day? So let's take a look. Alright, so here we go. This is the map. Here's Grodny here. Poland's over here. The Germans have come steaming across the border. They're going to do a pincer movement north and south. And so part of that is they're going to be coming down this road. And then flank of a flank, what we're going to do, our company, our German rifle company, is coming down this road. And this is where that battle is going to happen. Wojtowski. So that's where we're at. We know when we're at, and take a look at this. You can tell it's pretty much really rural. So those are the kind of board layouts we're going to use. And let's go back and take a look at that. Alrighty, so I rolled on the board table just to give me an idea of, maybe what boards to use. Looking at the map, between the two, this is the layout I came up with. So this is kind of wiggly the road through. The Germans are going to enter from this side, which makes here north, because they're going to be coming in from the west. So this is north, this is south. I could flip it, but I'm just not going to. So that was that. The next thing I rolled was victory conditions. So we've got now our terrain. We've got our forces, we've got where we are, what we're doing. Victory conditions, I actually rolled in the book here, number 16, woods and fields. Hold majority of woods or orchards on map, turn limit 6 to 8 turns. If none, substitute with fields. Well, when I was looking at this, the map itself, I'm like, well, there's a strong village up here in this corner. And I think that really would be the place to take for the Germans and for the Russians to hold. So I'm going to say that, the majority of these buildings by the end of the game wins. This is, the target. So the Germans are going to come moving in. They're going to, because it's a reconnaissance force, they're going to find the enemy. Once they found the enemy, they're going to try and take this village away from them. And then that way, so leapfrog, so the next people, the units behind them can just keep going. The Russians are going to want to be holding this, and then hopefully getting reinforcements. They're not, Russians being Russians, they don't know if they're coming or not. But there you go. Sucks to be the Russians in 1941. So terrain, victory conditions, forces, when, where, why we're fighting have all been determined. We have a narrative. So once you've got all that, it's pretty straightforward, except that it shouldn't be that straightforward. I mean, you can if you want. You can just go ahead and start playing. But the book also has scenario tweaks. So there's a D20. So these are tweaks to your setup of your scenario. And on this one, we rolled, where is it? On this one, we rolled 15, surprise attack. So the attacker automatically takes first 2 turns without defender reaction. Makes sense on this one too, because, the Russians apparently weren't ready, depending on who you listen to, on how much information they had that the Germans were going to attack, whether Stalin took it. But, here and here, so the Germans get to move 2 turns ahead. So they're going to set up on this board. The Russians are going to set up to the middle. The Germans get 2 turns, without the Russians being able to do defensive fire or movement, because surprise attack. And then I rolled for Fog of War. So Fog of War on the table, and at least in Advanced Squad Leader, and other game systems you may do it another way, whatever the system. But Fog of War roll is how many hidden counter units. I think bolt action, it's ambush markers. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so we got 8 on Fog of War roll. So the Russians are going to be able to hide a bunch of units, because obviously the Germans aren't going to know where they are. And then also on 8, no-show unit. Before setup, attacker randomly removes 1 squad from their OB. It does not appear in this scenario. So the Germans, and I'll show those forces, are going to lose a squad because it just doesn't, it ends up getting lost and not showing up with the rest on the way to form up. So there, we've got pretty much everything we need for this scenario to play. So here I put it down in a journal, which is nice. So I picked the village of Wojtowski, road north of Grodno, June 22nd, 1941. This is a recon enforced by the Germans. The objective is to take the village. Here's a rough map. They'll be coming in. There's the village. They're coming in. They're going to try and take that. Grodno's down here. So, enemy occupation. Elements of the 10th Army, 7th Rifle Platoon. So, let's do the enemy and the German and the Russian, how they're put together. Alrighty, so for the Russians, we picked out, so for their tank elements, I know it said light tanks, so there's 2 T-28s sitting there. They got a 76 gun with short barrel and 1 armor leader. We have the company commander, which is a 9.2 leader in ASL, plus his sub-commander 8.0, a half squad medium machine gun. And then we've got 3 rifle platoons, 3 squads each. 2 of them already have an inherent leader. Each one has an LMG. That is going to be your Russian rifle company with attached tanks. Alrighty, and in the blue corner we have the Germans. So, they've got 3 Panzer IVs with the 75 gun. So that's the original infantry support Panzer IV, which is not an assault gun, but hey, it'll do for now. That's kind of what the vibe went with. They got a good leader for them. Here is their HQ. Is half squad, medium machine gun, 2 leaders. And then again, same, because I tell you in the book there is an outlay for just a generic company, you know, throw it out there kind of thing. There's also in the back a more in-depth look at the differences on paper, but you know, hardly any in it was what it was on paper. I did roll for these and didn't get an understrength or overstrength result. So, and then the other thing I will say is, you know, this is what. Now, if you're playing, I don't know, if you're playing, let's say, a more platoon-oriented tabletop game, you could still do all this, and then the part you're playing, you know, you pick, okay, we're going to play, you know, this area of the battlefield. Let me zoom out here. So if that's where the whole battle's going on, you know, at a smaller scale, let's say bolt action, a small scale bolt action or something, you know, you only want to play a few platoons, you'll be playing in this area of the battlefield, you know, with, you know, this platoon, you know, of the Germans versus, you know, what it is taken out of the lines of the Russians. So it scales up or down quite well depending on your system. I try to keep everything as in a generic format. So, you know, it talks of companies. There's no point values really. The point values come with your host system. So this is just the layout, you know, and talks very generically about, you know, companies, squads, things like that. So it should be easy to scale. But that being said, these guys here get lost, so they don't take part. And we have our setup. So we're going to set the Germans up over here on this board. The Russians are, let's see, yeah, oh, there we go. The Russians are going to be up here in this village. And also, what the Russians will also do is they'll break some of these squads into half squads and have some posts in the middle board, just so, you know, they would be kind of having sentry posts and, you know, outlaying, you know, check things out. So we hope someone's somewhat competent that would, you know, put some eyes out in the field. So that's where the Russians are going to be. Again, it's a surprise attack. The Germans got the jump on them. They're going to have 2 turns of movement and firing before the Russians can even react. That means, you know, get their gear together and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I didn't roll for any artillery or close air support. That's also in the book. I left that out of this. I just wanted this to be, again, you pick your own kind of game you want to play, you know, and just roll around it. So that's basically how the book sets things up. So it's stuff that I developed over time, and again, I rewrote it because I thought, well, I'll release it into the wild, and I tried to write it as generically to fit as many game systems as possible. I did play bolt action for a while, but you know, I just don't have the room, and so Advanced Squad Leader is my go-to for World War II now. That being said, I don't go for the mad, crazy rules. I mean, kudos to those that do, but a lot of the stuff I use comes from this Retro by Minden Games, which basically is a very, well, you can see it's a very scaled down World War II based, using Advanced Squad Leader as the host game system. So, that being said, I still do use the original Advanced Squad Leader Cipher effect tables, which are here. So, but apart from that, most of it is retro, slimmed down, because I'm an old man now and I live in the real world, so I don't get a lot of time anymore. So when I do want to play a game, you know, I gotta hustle it along, and kind of I like the narratives and, you know, the things that can go wrong in a battle, things that can go right. Oh, speaking of which, because I'm going to be playing the Germans, I rolled on the Russians and to see what their general orders were. And their general orders is to dig in, which means there. So AI, the book has book has an AI oracle, the overall stance. Now, I'll be playing the Germans, so I don't really need to do that. Although you could, I mean, you could AI both sides if you wanted to. But the Russians got static defense, stay in place, dig in, fire at range. That's what they got, which, you know, that was lucky because they are really in defense, although they could have had all other kind of stuff going on. I mean, they don't know. Sometimes the field commander isn't sure about the overall conditions, so he may do something stupid, not knowing all of the facts. But with, you know, so with static defense 4, you know, if I'm unsure about what a platoon's going to do, or if I want to randomize it a little, mix it up, I can roll here. So, you know, it'll give you ideas of what that platoon's thinking, or that platoon commander's thinking at any time. So, you know, prioritize long-range fire over movement, spread out to cover multiple approaches, that kind of thing. So, anyway, that's what the Soviets will be doing. They're digging in. So, my next video, I'm going to keep this short. I'll try to keep the video short because I don't have a huge amount of time and the editing takes forever. So my next video is going to be setup and first turns, and we'll see how this plays out. I mean, it's all fun and games setting one up, but, you know, are they fun to play? I think they are, otherwise I wouldn't have written the book. But, you know, and again, you know, the thing about this is if you want to, if you think, well, you know, that the Germans, you know, overwhelm the Russians and I want that to feel it that way, then double the attacking force. You know, give the Germans 2 companies. You know, so whatever you roll, just double your attacker and things like that. So you can play with it. And anyway, that's that for now. And I will see you on the next video, hopefully. Thanks for watching.